Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in, have a seat, relax. We're going to have a great time today. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iTunes #1 kids and family podcast. We've also been nominated for iHeartRadio's Best Kids and Family Podcast for 2018. We've been able to achieve these milestones through your help and also by having fantastic guests on the show, like today's guest. She is the author of Scavenger Scout, Hound. Her name is Shelby Wilde. We are also honored to have some fantastic sponsors like Little Passports. Have you heard of Little Passports? Little Passports, it's the perfect holiday gift for curious kids of all ages. Little Passports delivers fun-filled packages right to their door every single month. Now, these boxes are filled with engaging hands-on activities, interactive projects, and unique souvenirs just waiting to be discovered. Little Passports monthly subscriptions are designed to spark children's curiosity about geography, world cultures, or science. From exploring sea creatures in Costa Rica to building a Big Ben like the one in England or making an ancient Greek headpiece, every month is a different adventure that will fuel their imaginations and spark their natural curiosity of the world around them. It's the perfect gift for kids ages 3 to 13 this holiday season. Order today at littlepassports.com/reading. Joining us on the line right now from Seattle in Washington. She's the author of a wonderful brand new book that's out, part of our STEM Week celebration. Please welcome to the show the author of Scavenger Scout, Hound, Shelby Wilde. Shelby, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty wonderful. It's a beautiful day here in Boston. It's that time of year where it's 50 degrees one day and 85 degrees the next day.
Oh, well, you might not be surprised to hear that it's rainy here in Seattle.
Well, you know, I didn't want to be stereotypical and ask you. But that's one of the, you know, we're talking, your book is a STEM-related book, and we love all things STEM here, and getting kids encouraged. So talking about the weather, being aware of the weather, especially being aware of how the weather is different around the country, I think that's a pretty cool thing for parents and kids to talk about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the goal of my book is really to get kids outside and exploring their world. So absolutely, weather is a piece of that. It seems weird to think about a picture book encouraging kids outside, but I think if you know kids, they want to be both. They want to be inside, they want to be outside. And I think with all of the screens around kids, the screen time that's available, I think anything we can do to encourage them to get back outside, exploring their world, understanding what's going on around them in nature, and getting connected to nature is a good thing.
Absolutely. I love technology. I think it's wonderful. I am thankful for it every day. We have international students who've lived with us, and I'm literally able to talk to every one of them almost every day. And they're China, they're India, they're Italy, the Netherlands, Japan. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to do that 25 years ago. But it's beautiful that we can do it right now. But you're right. I think there are a lot of kids that are missing out on the joy of being outside and getting dirty, getting their hands and their feet dirty.
Yeah, and I think absolutely. I think there's. I don't want to say it's an extreme reaction, but I see a movement with things like forest kindergarten, where people are kind of pushing away. I'm with you. Technology, very important. I rely on it. I love it. But I think there is a reaction among a set of parents who are saying, okay, we've seen there's a lot of screens, there's a lot of technology swirling all around our kids. Let's go outside. Let's get back to nature. Let's go play with toys that grow up out of the ground. And rocks are very much a part of that. And rocks come right out of the ground. It's beauty created by nature. You don't have to go sit down with the video game console to see that. You can just go touch it right outside.
So let's get into it. Tell us about Scavenger Scout. Obviously, Hound. It's obviously about rocks.
Yes, so she's not your ordinary 7-year-old. Mm-hmm. She absolutely adores rocks, and I would characterize her as a professional rockhound. In fact, she uses all of the professional rockhound tools. So you've got pickaxes, you've got chisels, you've got your collapsible shovels, you've got your rock picks. She uses all of the tools and knows how to use them. She is very passionate about rocks, and she will go to extreme lengths to add rocks to her collection. And in fact, that's what I'm saying should be the definition of a rockhound. Someone who goes to extreme lengths to add rocks to their collection. It becomes quite the focus for them. So the premise of this book is Scout telling us 3 stories of how she acquired rocks for her collection. So the rocks are real, but the stories are definitely more fantasy than reality, which really is for kids ages 4 through 8, who this book is targeted to. Fantasy blends with reality at this time for their life, and there's no reason to pull away from that. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of nonfiction picture books for kids, which I actually love, and I'm working on a couple of those. This one is not that. This one is a blending of fiction and nonfiction. It is real tools and real rocks. But, she's going to meet up with a dragon, or so she says, to get the azurite. She's going to have to haggle with some mermaids to take home some fluorite. And she's going to have to match wits with an alien to bring home this piece of alexandrite that she's got her sights set on. So it's both. It's a blend of fantasy and reality.
I want to talk to you about how you became interested in rocks and writing a story about rocks. But first, I want to just pick up on that idea of the kids, especially in that 4 to 8 range, reality and fantasy kind of blend together. I've heard some parents, and it mostly comes up around the whole issue of Santa Claus, and I'm not a big you got to teach your kids about Santa Claus kind of guy, but they're a lot of parents who say, I don't want to talk to my kids about Santa Claus. I don't want to lie to them. I don't want to tell them a make-believe story. And I can respect that. But what about that whole, when we take that approach, are we not acknowledging that side of kids that really loves fantasy and and how fantasy and reality kind of blend together?
Yes, I agree with that. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of parents, in fact, several in my mom's group here locally, talk about, exactly what you said. I don't want to lie to my kids. I want them to know the truth. But I really do think it's part, and again, this is my personal opinion, but it's part of their development. It is let them live their childhood. Let them have that magic. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of time for them to be acquainted with reality and the real world and the way things are run. But I think if we all think back to our childhood memories, we probably don't remember when our parents told us the tooth fairy wasn't real. What we remember is the treats or the trinkets that we woke up to the next morning. And so why not leave a little bit of that magic in there? And that was my thought behind this book. And, it was actually inspired by my daughter, who's 5 years old, and she is a rockhound, and not quite to the level of Scavenger Scout, but she sat me down one day and said, Mom, I want to tell you where I got all of these rocks. And so she starts pulling rocks out of her ever-growing collection. And she started telling me stories about how she fought with a dragon to take home this piece of agate or whatever. And she talked to mermaids. So that was when the concept and the story of Scavenger Scout was born. It came out of my daughter's imagination. So why not foster that in other kids? Why not encourage that? Because I don't know about you, but I have a day job and I don't get paid to use my imagination in my day job. Why not let kids, that's kind of I see it as their job. Their job is to nurture that and to just live in that world while they're young. Why not?
Absolutely. And for parents out there who are on the fence, and I don't want to lie to my kid, and it's like, yeah, okay, I can dig that. But as a magician, as someone who gets up on stage, oftentimes the last thing I would do is ever say, look at this bag, it's empty. I'll say, look, this bag appears to be empty. And so there's a lot of kind of weaselly ways you can talk about the tooth. Well, some people say if you put your tooth underneath a pillow, this thing called the tooth fairy will come and leave a quarter. And it happens, and whoa, what do you think? And just kind of chill.
just the delight on their faces really is the payoff. Again, I get the parents who don't want to lie, and I appreciate that. And I think that does open up a very nice open relationship with your kids. But I think there's a time to start that, and perhaps maybe 4, 5, 6-year-olds might not be yet the time to start that. Maybe let them live in that world for a while.
You know, my wife is, her family's from Puerto Rico, and they have a Christmas tradition that's a little bit different. They certainly are all love Santa Claus and everything, but they also, 12 days after Christmas on the Feast of the Epiphany, which is also known as the Three Kings Days, the kids will put a little shoebox out filled with hay or grass for city people who don't have access to hay, and that's for the Three Kings camels. And the notion is that if you feed the Three Kings camels on Three Kings Day or the night before, they'll leave a present inside the shoebox.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it was until my son was in kindergarten, and he went and showed everybody the gift that the Three Kings left him. And next thing, we're getting all these phone calls from parents going, "What is this Three Kings stuff? We got to get another present."
Well, and that's what we live in, a very multicultural society. So it's wonderful to celebrate those family traditions. But yes, I can definitely see how the parents were saying, wait a minute, I already have Elf on the shelf. Please don't please don't add the Three Kings into this mix, please.
Well, tell us how you got into rocks and loving rocks and knowing rocks. I mean, I look at rocks and some of them are really pretty, but I don't know an agate from a whatever. We're going to find out what inspired Shelby's love of rocks and her curiosity of rocks in just a minute. But hey, before Shelby tells us that, I want to tell you a website that I really, really want you to check out. It's littlepassports.com/reading. littlepassports.com/reading. We love Little Passports. I think it's the perfect holiday gift for curious kids of all ages. Who knows what kind of love will be sparked in your kids if they're members of Little Passports. Little Passports delivers fun-filled packages right to their door every single month with engaging hands-on activity, interactive projects, and unique souvenirs just waiting to be discovered. Little Passport's monthly subscription is designed to spark children's curiosity about geography, world cultures, or science. From exploring sea creatures in Costa Rica to building a Big Ben like the one in England or making an ancient Greek headpiece, every month is a different adventure that will fuel their imagination and spark their natural curiosity of the world around them. It really is the perfect gift for your kids, for your grandkids, for your nieces and nephews, or just kids that you love who are aged 3 to 13 this holiday season. And like I said, you can order today at littlepassports.com/reading. Get from whatever out,
Well, like with a lot of kids, it started young for me. We went camping a lot when I was younger. And so, of course, we were out in nature all the time. And you just stumble across them. And I think there's kind of this passion that grows out of being around them so much. And it's almost like a treasure hunt. And maybe that's part of it. And we know kids love a good treasure hunt. Any kid is going to go for being a pirate or playing just even a scavenger hunt game. So part of it is the thrill of the hunt. And that's one of the things I wanted to convey in this book, which, by the way, has a seek and find feature to it. So we already know kids who love rocks probably love hunting for them. And so on every page, as Scout is looking for the rock, you, the kid or the reader or the parent, gets to find the rock on every page as well. So for me, that's probably partially why my passion kind of came into play when I was young. It's because I absolutely loved just digging around and poking around and seeing what I could find. Because when you think about a crystal, an actual crystal, which is a lot of times the new shiny thing that gets kids' attention, it's hard to believe that came out of the earth, especially today when we're so used to plastic toys and everything being made. It's hard to pick something up and say, oh, this is thousands of years old, and it happens to be this beautiful blue color. This came out of the ground. So my love started young because of the thrill of the hunt, and also just from a sense of awe that, this really came out of the ground. And I was that fifth grader with my school science project about which rocks fluoresce under black light. So that was, I think I still have those rocks somewhere. I've got to find them. My daughter has been bugging me for them, but it started young, being in the outdoors and hunting around, and just the thrill of the hunt, really.
You know, I have to be honest with you. We've had a number of guests in. We try to do a STEM week or STEM features every month. And, you know, so we've talked about animals and space exploration and sea exploration. But we haven't talked about geology and the earth and rocks and you know, I'll be honest with you, when I think STEM, rocks aren't the first thing that jump out, but it really is an important part of STEM, of science.
Yeah, the earth sciences, definitely. And I think we're seeing, just again, since I'm a parent, I'm out there reading the picture books every single day. I'm seeing more and more nonfiction books that are about earth sciences. So, I mean, volcanoes. My kids are huge into volcanoes. They have a weird fascination with tornadoes and earthquakes and natural disasters. But they're also very much into, you know, geography and geology. And I completely agree with you. Geology is one of those kind of second cousins of science. You know, it doesn't have the whiz bang of physics. It doesn't have the excitement of new other math concepts that are coming out. So it's definitely not something that comes to people's mind, but once you mention it to a kid, their eyes light up. I mean, I've been telling people about this book for months now, and every single person I told knows a kid who loves rocks, and it's just not the first thing that would come to their mind to make into a book. But as soon as you say it, the adults' eyes light up because they know that this book will really fuel that passion in whatever kid that they know.
Well, you know, it makes sense when you think about it, because geology, rocks, that is probably the part of science that is most accessible to kids and everyone.
There you go. Mm-hmm. You got it. And it's free. A lot of times it's free. You can go on a hike whenever you want, weather permitting, back to weather, of course. Mm-hmm. You can go out whenever you want, wherever you want. The tools is a very low barrier to entry for this hobby, if you want to call it a hobby. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's outside. It's active. It's engaged with nature. It's with your parents. You're bonding with them, especially if a parent who is an outdoorsy type. Not necessarily into rocks, but all you need is a love for the outdoors. So yeah, it's absolutely one of those activities that's very easily accessible for kids, even young kids. I have some tips on my blog for rock hounding with really young kids, like I have a 3-year-old. He absolutely can go out there and just with even a popsicle stick in soft ground and hunt around, and, you know, it's touching dirt. So what's better for a 3-year-old, really? Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that some people just love rocks and geology so much. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast in the past. I travel around doing educational magic shows, and there are times when, you know, there's a few hours off, the shows are done for the day, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and what are we going to do? And there's a cavern tour, and I found myself in Pennsylvania. And went, and I was the only person who showed up for the tour at that point. And the guide brought me down and was giving me the kind of canned tour, and with the corny jokes and everything. And I go, look, dude, can you just be real with me? Just kind of show me what you're interested in. I don't need the tour. I'm just killing some time. And he just had such a blast. He had such a love of geology and a knowledge of it. And man, it was such a joy. I don't remember anything he taught me other than the fact that he loved this, and it was fascinating to me. And so, this could be going out and hunting for some rocks. You could be igniting a passion in your kids that will last a lifetime.
Yep, that's exactly right. And you hit on something very important. You may not have remembered the details, the scientific points. You just remembered the feeling. Mm-hmm. You remembered the passion. You remembered the love. And that's what I feel like I try and do with my kids every day. Whenever they show an interest in something, whatever it is, encourage it, facilitate it, make it easier for them to do more often. If that's what they love, if they find something they love, then why not? And that's where this book comes into play for all these kids who were just coming out of the woodwork who love rocks. Mm-hmm. Even before writing this, I didn't have quite the concept of really how many kids really loved rocks. And I think they're fascinated with what they look like, the fact that they're allowed to touch them because they can't break them, mm-hmm. The fact that they get to get dirty looking for them, and usually their parents are like, sure, let's go outside, here you go. It's what you said, the barrier is low for kids, and they just love it. Yeah. And even now I'm still hearing from kids every single day how much they love it.
And it's a great way to kind of get kids thinking in that scientific kind of way. Let's curious. What's out there? And we found something. What is it? And what can we do with it? And what does it mean? And how does it relate? How do we relate to it? And, and like we've said, it's accessible to kids.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you said something very important. It's sparked that curiosity. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it turns into. Just get that going and see where it leads you, and let them take the lead, and then ask them questions, just like any teacher would do. Parents are teachers too. So let them ask questions and let them go and watch them be passionate about something and just fall in love.
Well, it's obvious you have a lot of passion for this book. Do you have another one in the works?
I do, yes. It's being illustrated right now, actually. Scavenger Scout Part 2. I've got to come up with a better name. That's being illustrated right now, and it'll be released probably mid-next year, so mid-2019.
Excellent. Well, we're excited, and we're excited that hopefully you'll be back to tell us about that book. Now, where can folks I'm going to ask you in a minute, where can folks connect with you online? But is there a way now that, after we're out in the dirt and we get dirty and we find these great rocks and the parents and the kids are looking at each other going, they're pretty, but I don't know what they are. Is there a resource online? Is there a way for parents to kind of go online to kind of identify what they discover?
Well, there's for the online answer, there's a couple of options. So online, if the parents have access to Facebook, there are at least 2 rock identification groups that I can think of that have tens of thousands of members. And you go on, you post your pictures of your rock, and the many geological brains that are also in that group will look at it and most of the times give you an answer. There's also a subreddit. If anyone has access to Reddit, REDDIT, they also have a group in there specifically for rock identification. So those are 2 online resources. On Facebook, search for groups it's called something like Rock Identification. It's a simple name. And then also on Reddit, they also have groups. I would encourage, if the parents have the time, to look up their local rock club. There's rock clubs in near every single city in the country that I've been able to find. And they have members that are very, as you can imagine, passionate about rocks. So they're always really happy. I brought rocks over to my rock club just to ask them, what is this? I think it's this, but I'm not sure. And they're always really happy to do that. So there's a couple of online resources and an offline resource as well.
Wow, cool. I had no idea that there are rock clubs out there, but people don't people don't, people look at me, they go, there's magic clubs out there? I was like, yeah. So cool. Well, I know folks are going to want to connect with you and find out more about you and what's going on so that they can be the first to know about the new book coming out and learn a little bit more about Scavenger Scout, Rock Hound. Where can folks connect with you online?
So I'm on Facebook, and they can either do a search for Scavenger Scout, and they will find the page for the book specifically, or they can do a search for Shelby Wilde Books on Facebook, and they can find my author page. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram under both of those same handles, Shelby Wilde Books and Scavenger Scout. And then those are probably the best ways. Facebook, I update very regularly with all the latest information about the book. And Twitter, pretty well. And Instagram, I'm still getting better at.
Aren't we all? It's hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be as many social media platforms as there are rocks not too long.
Probably.
Well, we've been talking today to Shelby Wilde. She is the author of Scavenger Scout, Rock Hound. Check it out. What a great book. What a great way to start a hobby with your kids, to get them on that path, to start thinking with that curiosity and asking questions and really encouraging that. That's a beautiful thing. Shelby Wilde, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
You know, it seems like I always end the show by saying you do not want to miss the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. But listen to this. You do not want to miss the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be the star of Alex Haley's Roots, the star of Star Trek The Next Generation, the star of Reading Rainbow. Mr. LeVar Burton will be here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Be here for LeVar Burton. We are so very, very excited. Hey, if you are the author of a great children's book, how cool would it be for you to be able to tell people that, hey, I was on a podcast that LeVar Burton was on? Well, we would love to give you that opportunity. We would love to have you as a guest, giving you a platform to tell thousands and thousands of people about your great children's book. And check it out. Being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast is fun, it's easy, and it is absolutely free. All you need to do is go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on that contact button, let us know about your great book. We'll let you know the next steps, and they're really, really easy. Hey, we have some people to thank before we go. We want to thank Shelby Wilde for coming in here, telling us about her love of rocks and about her great book, Scavenger Scout, Rock Hound. We also want to thank the folks at littlepassports.com/reading. littlepassports.com/reading. That's the place to go to find out about Little Passports, the perfect holiday gift for that curious kid on your shopping list. With a subscription to Little Passports, kids get a fun-filled package each month designed to inspire their curiosity in geography, world culture, or science. For kids of all ages, order today at littlepassports.com/reading. And we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for going out and exploring the world together with your kids. And of course, thank you so much for making the world a better place every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.